What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Veteran Game, the channel where we put every RPG, indie gem, and monster collecting adventure through its paces, so you don't have to waste your precious hours. If you love honest, no-nonsense reviews and deep dives into the games flying under the radar, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe, and let us know your most underrated creature collecting game in the comments. Let's keep it rolling. Today we're looking at Creature Keeper, a Kickstarter success story that finally clawed its way to release after years in the indie oven. It promises heartwarming monster befriending, charming pixel art, and some action RPG spice. But does it actually stand out in the increasingly crowded world of Pokemon likes? Or does it fizzle out before it ever really starts? Let's get into it. First impressions. Creature Keeper has all the right ingredients on paper: a world in peril, a corruption spreading across the land, a protagonist thrust into a generational legacy of defending creatures and the kingdom. You're blank, a rookie creature keeper, and your job is to befriend, protect, and sometimes battle alongside an army of cute or sometimes very weird creatures. It's a cozy, pixelated world, dripping with retro nostalgia, and the vibes at the start are undeniably inviting. If you grew up on Game Boy Color classics or are a sucker for games like Stardew Valley, you'll immediately get what Creature Keeper is going for. The way you actually collect creatures is where things get interesting. Instead of whittling down wild monsters with attacks and hurling Pokeballs, you win their trust by feeding them fruit, sometimes their favorites, sometimes whatever you have on hand. There's no violence in the catching. It's all about kindness and resource management, which in theory is refreshing, but in practice it's just, well, a little dull. If you have enough apples, you're golden. If not, go grind some more. There's almost no tension, no minigame, and very little feeling of accomplishment. For all the humane vibes, the process is so basic it almost feels like a missed opportunity. Now let's talk combat. Creature Keeper shakes up the typical monster tamer formula by putting you, yes, you the player, right in the thick of battle. This isn't turn-based. It's real-time hack-and-slash action, somewhere between old-school Zelda and a lightweight Diablo, but with monsters fighting by your side. At first, you can only bring one creature into battle, but you'll eventually unlock the ability to summon up to 3, and that's when the screen really starts popping off. Sounds awesome, right? Sometimes it is. The core gameplay loop is simple: hack, slash, and unleash creature special moves. Each monster gets a single equipped ability you can fire off when it's ready. You can tell your creatures to go on offense or hold back, but that's pretty much the extent of tactical depth. While the weapons you pick up do feel satisfying to use, swords, axes, hammers, each with their own style, it's a shallow pool. The synergy between player and creatures is cool at first, but quickly loses its shine when you realize the AI mostly does its own thing, and victory usually comes down to how strong your monsters are, not any big brain plays or clever combos. And speaking of balance, here's where things get weird. Your creatures? Absolute wrecking balls by the mid-game. Bosses that should feel epic go down in literal seconds as your monsters spam their attacks, while random trash mobs in the wild can turn into grindy time sinks for no good reason. It's as if the numbers are all out of whack. Combine that with the lack of deep creature customization or strategy, one special move per creature, barely any party control, and the combat, while frantic and colorful, just doesn't stay engaging. But hey, what about the world and the story? Creature Keeper tries to serve up some fantasy save the kingdom from evil drama, but let's be real, it's about as boilerplate as RPG stories get. There's a corruption. You're the chosen one. Go fetch the MacGuffin. It's not offensively bad, it's just flavorless. And for a game that leans hard on its cozy atmosphere, there's surprisingly little warmth to the characters' environments or humor. There are a few genuinely heartfelt moments, and some fun ideas crop up late in the story, but most are left dangling, never explored or fully realized. The world itself, Sodland, is a hodgepodge of forests, swamps, and ruins, rendered in cute but plain pixel art. It's pleasant enough, but you've seen it all before, and honestly, you'll forget most of the areas 5 minutes after leaving them. Creature variety is pretty solid. with lots of fun designs and enough critters to keep monster fans entertained. But again, there's no wow factor that'll leave you telling friends about the one you caught. Let's get real about polish. Creature Keeper could have used a few more months in the oven. There are grammar errors, weird bugs, even occasional crashes. Sometimes story events trigger off-screen, and battles can turn into unintelligible blobs of sprites, numbers, and projectiles. The perk system for creatures. Oddly undercooked. Perks are often pointless or even make your monsters worse. Here, take 10% more damage for a tiny attack buff. Who designed this? The neighborhood goblin. And while we're at it, the humor. Creature Keeper tries for a light, quirky tone with silly jokes and pixelated emoji faces, but more often than not, it just falls flat. The comedy scenes drag, the timing is off, and it adds nothing to the world or your experience. It's the kind of writing that makes you reach for the skip button. But it's not all doom and gloom. Beneath the bland story and bumpy design, there's real passion. The core feedback of the weapons, the feeling of running around with your monster pals, the gardening minigame, the creative potential for the dev if given more resources, it all points to someone who genuinely cares about making something fun. For a solo developer, that's no small feat, and it's worth celebrating the ambition even if the result doesn't totally land. So who is Creature Keeper for? If you're a monster collector addict, or you just love supporting quirky indie projects, you'll probably find enough charm here to justify a casual playthrough. The combat is simple but cathartic, the creatures are cute, and there's an undeniable cozy vibe that makes it easy to unwind after a long day. But if you're looking for the next big step in monster taming, deep strategy, or a story that'll stick with you, lower those expectations. Final verdict? Creature Keeper is a game with its heart in the right place, but its head a little lost in the weeds. It's fun for a few hours, and there are flashes of something special. But for most players, it's like to be just another indie RPG that fades from memory once the credits roll. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Because at Veteran Game, we're always searching for the next hidden gem, monster-filled or otherwise. What's your favorite overlooked indie RPG? Drop it in the comments and keep the discussion going. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.